I started franchising when I was 66 years old. It's the same company that I sold for $2 million, sold for $240 million yesterday. I didn't get any of that.
Harland Sanders rose from poverty. After his father's death, he decided to kidnap his children. How KFC started in a gas station, and why the founder sued KFC after he survived the kill shot gunfight.
Welcome to Fly, Eat, Repeat. This is Colonel Sanders, revealing my secret blend and my life struggles. So, let me hear the notification bell.
Fly, eat, repeat. Fly, eat, repeat. Harland Sanders, later known as Colonel Sanders, was born on a humble farm in Indiana on September 9, 1890. Growing up in poverty, his father passed away when he was just 5, leaving his mother to work tirelessly in sewing and canning factories to support the family. Young Harland took on the responsibility of caring for his siblings. During these tough times, he began experimenting with cooking at the tender age of 7. Despite their hardships, his determination to help his family and his budding talent in the kitchen began to define him. Taking care of his 2 younger siblings became a crucial part of Harland Sanders' early life. At just 7 years old, he started honing his cooking skills, often staying up late experimenting with recipes and techniques. This dedication and practice laid the foundation for Sanders to become an exceptionally skilled cook. What began as a necessity grew into a passion that would shape his future. At the age of 10, Sanders took his first job on a farm, but his fascination with the animals led to his dismissal after just a month. His mother's disappointment stung deeply. She told him,
"Here you are, my oldest son. Your father's dead, and you're the only one I can look to for help with the other children. And you're no account. You can't even hold a job for $2 a month."
These words struck a chord with young Harland. He told himself,
"I will work harder the next time I get a job."
Feeling a deep sense of shame, Harland Sanders vowed that he would one day achieve success. Fly, eat, repeat. Fly, eat, repeat. Harland faced a series of challenges. His mother remarried a man who was violent and abusive towards Sanders and his siblings, making it painfully clear that he did not want them in his life. The situation at home became unbearable, and at just 12 years old, Sanders made the difficult decision to leave. Determined to forge his path, he moved out and set out into the world on his own, facing an uncertain and challenging future. Finding work at another farm, Sanders juggled pre-dawn chores with full days of schooling and evening jobs. The burden proved overwhelming, exacerbated by his disdain for school, especially algebra, leading him to drop out of school at the age of 13, only weeks into 7th grade. In his early years, Harland Sanders tried a wide range of jobs, showcasing his determination and resilience. He worked as a streetcar conductor, navigating the bustling streets, and later as an insurance salesman, trying to secure policies for wary customers. He sold tires, gaining first-hand experience with the grit of manual labor, and operated steamboats, managing the complexities of river transport. Sanders even served as a midwife secretary, assisting in the crucial moments of childbirth, and painted carriages, adding a touch of artistry to his repertoire. At just 15 years old, Sanders enlisted in the U.S. Army and was sent to Cuba. This experience was brief, lasting only about 6 months, likely due to his age being discovered. Despite this, it wasn't the Army that would earn him the title of colonel. Each of these diverse roles reflected his relentless work ethic and desire to succeed, even in the face of adversity and frequent setbacks. By the time Harland Sanders turned 18, he got married to Josephine and went on to have 3 children. Needing money to support his growing family, Harland sought a professional job and enrolled in a law course conducted via mail. His legal career, however, was short-lived. An altercation with one of his clients in the courtroom destroyed his reputation. Forced to abandon his legal aspirations, Harland took a job with the railroad, but misfortune struck again when he was fired from that position as well. This series of failures took a toll on his marriage, and Josephine left him, taking their children and returning to her parents' home. She even gave away all their furniture and household goods. Devastated, Harland felt like he had lost everything. Desperate, he went to her parents' house and hid in the woods, contemplating kidnapping his own children when they came out to play. However, in a moment of clarity, he decided to speak with his father-in-law. This conversation helped him see reason. Instead of following through with his desperate plan, Harland went inside to make amends with Josephine. Through sincere efforts, he eventually reconciled with her, bringing his family back together. Fly. Eat. Repeat. Fly. Eat. Repeat. In 1924, a determined Harland Sanders hitchhiked from Louisville to Winchester, desperately seeking employment. During his journey, he was picked up by the general manager of Standard Oil Kentucky, an oil and gas company. Harland, unaware of the man's identity, poured out his struggles and explained why he was jobless. Moved by Harland's story, the manager offered him a job running a gas station in Nicholasville. Harland eagerly accepted the offer, seeing a glimmer of hope. Initially, business was slow as customers remained loyal to the previous owner. Some locals even refused to acknowledge him, turning a cold shoulder to his warm greetings. But Harland, with unwavering resolve, focused on exceptional customer service, always providing something extra. His perseverance paid off, and Harland eventually earned over $12,000 a month from selling gas, 3 times more than anyone else in the area. However, the Great Depression struck, and his luck took a devastating downturn. To make ends meet, Harland had to sell his own equipment. Realizing it was futile to stay, he made the painful decision to quit. But fortune smiled upon him again when Shell offered him a job running a gas station being built in Corbin, Kentucky. Harland knew this was his chance to rebuild his life, so he accepted and moved to Corbin in 1930. In Corbin, Harland Sanders began managing the Shell gas station. To supplement his income, he started cooking meals for customers in the backroom, utilizing his culinary skills. He set up a single table that could seat 6 people and served ham steaks, string beans, okra, and hot biscuits. His food began to gain popularity, and the small dining area buzzed with satisfied customers. However, fried chicken wasn't initially on the menu because it took too long to prepare, about 30 to 35 minutes. Harland struggled to meet the demand for this time-consuming dish. Fly. Eat. Repeat. Fly. Eat. Repeat. Harland's dedication to his food and customers did not go unnoticed. In 1935, Kentucky Governor Ruby Laffoon honored him with the honorary title of colonel in recognition of his contributions to the state's cuisine. Though the title was honorary and not related to military rank, Harland embraced it fully. From then on, he became known as Colonel Sanders, a name that resonated with warmth and hospitality. The same year, the increasing demand for Colonel Sanders' food led him to move out of the gas station and open a 142-seat restaurant. At long last, in his 40s, he had found success. However, fate had more challenges in store for him. To boost sales further, Colonel Sanders advertised his gas station food by painting ads on barn doors in the local area. This marketing strategy proved highly effective but also attracted the ire of a nearby competitor, Matt Stewart. Stewart began painting over Harland's ads, leading to escalating tensions. Harland warned Stewart to stop, even threatening to shoot him if he continued. Ignoring the warning, Stewart persisted. The confrontation culminated in a tragic shootout. Sanders and two of his gas station managers went to confront Matt Stewart. When Stewart saw them approaching, he quickly drew his gun and fired, narrowly missing Sanders but hitting one of the managers instead. Harland, in self-defense, returned fire and wounded Stewart. Stewart was sentenced to 18 years in prison for murder, while Harland was not jailed as he had acted in self-defense. This harrowing experience left Harland shaken but ultimately removed a significant competitor, allowing him to dominate the local area sales. By 1937, Colonel Sanders' food had gained widespread acclaim. People traveled from different states just to taste his cooking. His success led to the expansion of his gas station to include a motel and cafe that could seat 142 people. However, he encountered a significant problem. He couldn't pan-fry the chicken fast enough. Cooking to order took 30 minutes, and if prepared in advance, he often had to discard unsold pieces. Deep frying was faster but resulted in dry, crusty, and unevenly cooked chicken. Determined to solve this problem, Colonel Sanders discovered the potential of the pressure cooker, which was becoming more widely available, primarily used for cooking vegetables. After extensive experimentation, he perfected the method of pressure frying chicken, reducing the cooking time to just 8 or 9 minutes while preserving its flavor and moisture. Then one day, he got an order for 500 fried chicken meals. Since they weren't for his regular customers, he decided to try new seasoning. It turned out to be the best fried chicken he had ever had in his life, so he stuck with it and called it his secret blend of 11 herbs and spices. His restaurant was even listed in Adventures in Good Eating, a guidebook by Duncan Hines that recommended good eating places along America's highways. Guys, just hit this notification bell, please. Seriously, I need your support.
They tell me that I'm never gonna make it. They want me to do something that could make sense. They hate when I keep dreaming I'll be famous, but I don't give a fuck, I'ma keep chasing. I got all this potential that's deep inside of me, but they hate when you're successful cause they try to be. They sit there being judgmental because you're trying things, and they just want you to settle and do the right thing. So get a good job, don't slack off. Wake up every morning, make a good impression on your boss. Don't do anything that I wouldn't do, and when you're making money, make sure you don't spend it too soon. Fuck that, I'll do what I wanna do. I got a different path from everyone and that includes you. Who are you to tell me how to live life? In these times it feels like nobody's right, yeah. So I'ma figure out what else we succeed, and then invest all of my time into that and proceed. I need whatever the hell could make me happy, and I don't think you have a clue what could that be. They tell me that I'm never gonna make it. They want me to do something that could make sense. They hate when I keep dreaming I'll be famous, but I don't give a fuck, I'ma keep chasing.
In 1939, Colonel Sanders faced another devastating setback. After successfully building a second motel and cafe in Asheville, his first establishment in Corbin burned down on Thanksgiving. By the time it was rebuilt, World War II had begun, drastically reducing the number of tourists and vacationers. Faced with these challenges, Colonel Sanders sold his Asheville location and worked at other restaurants and cafeterias. These were dark times, but his spirit remained unbroken. However, Sanders just couldn't catch a break because tragedy struck again in 1947. After one of their sons died at just 20 years old, the grief took a toll on Sanders and Josephine's marriage. Unable to come to terms with their loss, their marriage fell apart, and they divorced. This marked another period of profound sadness and loss for Sanders. World War II had broken out, meaning no tourists or travelers were passing through, which had been his main source of customers. He ultimately had to sell the place but didn't give up. After the war, Harland Sanders faced new challenges. With tourism diminished, he sold his business and ventured into a new restaurant in Georgetown, Kentucky. Generously, he provided $300 a month and half of the profits to a former colleague to manage it. Unfortunately, this colleague betrayed him by entering into a partnership under both their names without Harland's consent. To regain control, Harland had to buy out his partner and dismiss him. This betrayal was a bitter blow, yet Colonel Sanders' determination and innovative spirit persisted. In 1953, Harland received a call from a real estate agent who offered him $164,000 for his motel and cafe. Harland turned him down. His motel and cafe were right on the highway, and 90% of his business came from tourists. Still, the agent called him the next day, trying to convince him to sell. In his memoir, he wrote, "There's no point in selling out. My motel was right on the highway." That, in itself, was worth a fortune. I was just as happy as I could be. With business booming, Harland thought he was set for life. But 6 months later, he regretted his decision not to sell. A highway junction in front moved to another site, cutting down the flow of traffic. Shortly after, it was announced that a new interstate highway would bypass his location altogether. Harland was convinced his business was doomed. So in 1956, he auctioned it off for $75,000, less than half of what the real estate agent had offered him. At the age of 65, Colonel Sanders found himself with no business and no other income except his savings. He had to rely on his Social Security check of just $105 a month. Despite misinformation online suggesting that Sanders nearly ended his life at this point, there is no evidence of that. In fact, quite the opposite. Sanders was a very determined man and wasn't going to give up that easily. He said in his biography, "If I hadn't been 66 years old and had $105 security check coming in every month, I don't know what I would have done. But for me, it wasn't a matter of giving up. It was just a problem of what to do next." Despite being at retirement age, Colonel Sanders was really just getting started. Little did he know, he was on the verge of his biggest breakthrough yet. Fly. Eat. Repeat. Fly. Eat. Repeat. Colonel Sanders had an idea. What if, instead of running a restaurant himself, he could franchise his recipe? He would let other restaurants sell his chicken and charge 4 cents for every chicken sold. Determined to make this work, Sanders loaded up his car with pressure cookers and a big bag of his famous seasoning and hit the road in his 1946 Ford. His plan was to travel across the United States, finding potential franchisee restaurants. It wasn't an easy life. Sanders had to live out of his car and endure exhausting, non-stop travel. When he found a restaurant he thought suitable, he would convince the owner to let him cook his chicken for their employees. If they liked it, he stayed for a few days to cook for their customers, hoping they'd want to become a franchisee. Sanders faced rejection after rejection, reportedly being turned down 1,009 times before finally getting someone to agree. How tempting it must have been to quit after 1,000 rejections, but Sanders kept going. In 1952, Sanders' perseverance paid off. Pete Harmon of South Salt Lake, Utah, agreed to sell Sanders chicken. Harmon owned a large chain of restaurants and saw his sales triple in the first year after introducing Colonel Sanders' Kentucky Fried Chicken. Harmon even coined the phrase "finger lickin' good," which became the slogan across the whole KFC chain. Within a couple of years, everything had changed. Sanders didn't need to make those long road trips anymore to find new partners. People started coming to him instead. To maintain the secrecy of his recipe, Sanders sent the spice blend pre-made to franchisees, recognizing that the idea of a secret recipe generated a lot of intrigue. his second wife, Claudia Price, mixed, packed, and shipped their secret blend of 11 herbs and spices. Harland didn't share the recipe with his franchises because he feared it would fall into the hands of competitors. Fly. Eat. Repeat. Fly. Eat. Repeat. By the end of 1963, Harland Sanders had franchised over 600 outlets across the United States and Canada. This number would soon grow to 900, including locations in the UK and Japan. His chicken recipe had become a massive hit, and the franchise model he pioneered was a resounding success. Sanders had finally made it. He was financially secure at long last. But this was not the end of his story. KFC was thriving, and then a group of entrepreneurs and investors, led by 29-year-old John Brown, approached Sanders with an offer. Brown was astonished to learn that KFC didn't even have a dedicated sales team, relying instead on word of mouth from restaurant owners to open new franchises. Brown saw immense potential, telling his partners,
"If we own this company, imagine how quickly we could expand it with a more aggressive sales approach."
They made Sanders an offer to buy KFC. Initially, Sanders turned them down, as the business was like a child to him, and he feared they might ruin it. However, Brown was persistent and upped his offer to $2 million. He promised never to tamper with the Colonel's recipe and to maintain high-quality control. Brown also wanted Sanders to stay on as an advisor and ambassador, believing that Sanders' presence was a crucial marketing asset. In 1964, at the age of 73, Sanders finally agreed to sell his business, hoping this would allow him some time to enjoy the final stages of his life. Once the sale went through, Sanders became a millionaire, although he hardly stepped away from KFC. Sanders remained deeply involved with KFC, enjoying being part of publicity campaigns and traveling the world for various promotions. He made numerous TV appearances, always wearing his iconic white suit. Meanwhile, John Brown and the new management team made significant changes that helped the business grow and opened many new locations. However, in 1971, Brown sold the company to a giant food conglomerate. And that's when everything began to change. Fly. Eat. Repeat. Fly. Eat. Repeat. Unlike Brown, who served later as the governor of Kentucky from 1979 to 1983, while he had respected Sanders' recipes, the new owners did not. They changed the gravy to a version that was cheaper and easier to make. A company executive said,
"Let's face it, the Colonel's gravy was fantastic, but you had to be a Rhodes Scholar to cook it."
As KFC expanded quickly, they sought to streamline operations, making several changes. Sanders, who still visited many KFC stores himself, was appalled when he tasted the new gravy, calling it horrible and pure wallpaper paste. He was equally critical of the chicken, describing it as nothing but a damn fried dough ball stuck on some chicken. Sanders' harsh and public criticism led to a libel lawsuit from one KFC franchisee in 1978, but the case was dismissed. Unhappy with the direction KFC was taking, Sanders opened his own competing restaurant named Claudia Sanders, the Colonel's Lady Dinner House. This move led to a bitter lawsuit from KFC's new owners over the use of his name and branding. In retaliation, Sanders sued them, alleging they misused his image to promote products he hadn't developed, demanding $122 million in damages. Eventually, they settled, and Sanders received $1 million but had to rename his restaurant Claudia Sanders Dinner House. This restaurant still exists today and is the only place to get the original Colonel Sanders fried chicken. Sanders was a fighter until the end. In 1980, he died from acute leukemia at the age of 90. Remarkably, he worked until a month before his death, declaring he had no interest in retiring and sitting around doing nothing. Today, there are over 25,000 KFC outlets worldwide, all starting with a man cooking chicken in a gas station. Despite constant failures, rejections, and tragedies, Sanders persevered, starting his new business model at 65 and becoming a millionaire by 74. In his own famous words, one has to remember that every failure can be a stepping stone to something better.
They tell me that I'm never gonna make it. They want me to do something that can make sense. They hate when I keep dreaming I'll be famous, but I don't give a fuck, I'ma keep chasing. I think this life could be special if I get rid of the devils. They think that I am a rebel, I think they want me to settle. There's nobody on my level. They think that work is too stressful, I think that work is essential. The grind is all in your mental, and I don't think you understand what I'll go through just to be in control of my life soon. All the negativity, man, I'm immune. I don't really need a mask with all I've been through. I've been making changes for the ages. 5-10 year plans are contagious. I attack that shit, I'm tenacious. And if you ain't, get the fuck out of my way then. Got one life, I won't regret it. I will fight until I get it. I'll look back one day from heaven and say, damn, I learned some lessons. And say, damn, I had no questions. I had fun in every second, and the journey was a blessing, yeah. They tell me that I'm never gonna make it. They want me to do something that can make sense. They hate when I keep dreaming I'll be famous, but I don't give a fuck, I'ma keep chasing. They tell me that I'm never gonna make it. They want me to do something that can make sense. They hate when I keep dreaming I'll be famous, but I don't give a fuck, I'ma keep chasing.
Fly, eat, repeat, fabulous folks. Watch the previous episodes. Keep an eye out for the upcoming ones. Check out the sources below. Hit the subscribe button. And if you are interested in aviation stories, choose your next video. Both are mind-blowing.